So you want to be a gangster, right? Well, the main conversation that you're going to have if you get to this term is a conversation that requires 5 things. And they the most 5 things that you better have together. And if you ain't got them together, you ain't even got to worry about it. So you're going to go through a process, right? You're going to go through arraignment. You're going to go through your prelim, right? Then you're going to go jury selection if you pick that, right? Or you might go bench trial, right? That's going to have a set date, right? Boom, you go through all these transitions with the court and your motions. You might have motions to suppress some type of argument, to suppress a witness, to pull a juror off the question of the juror, because, that's what you can do. But none of this really matters until you get to the main stage. And that's after you done went through your tsunami, whether it was 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, whatever. All the way up to life in prison. We'll be back with the most 5 things that you better have together. Because if you ain't got them together, you're not going home. Coney Island Chronicle. We're going to get off into the real deal. If you've been through the tsunami and you can relate, then you know what I'm talking about. But for those that's perping and faking and ain't never been that route, I'm going to teach you something about real gangsterism and what you go through when you out there dealing in them streets. So if you made it this far, my dog, you really want to learn something. So you may wind up getting bond over. Bond over is when you was moved from 36th district or whatever little arraignment, you moving on to trial time. So it's either finna be you gonna take a trial, like I said, a bench or a jury. You might get offered a plea deal where it's time for you to decide your fate. You may say, hey, they got a little bit too much evidence, or you feel it ain't no need to go through all this and you would just rather deal with the consequences. Say, hey, bump it. I'll take the little whatever, because, the crime may vary, the time's gonna vary. And it can get enhanced because the judge could use all your past behaviors against you. So that's gonna be in your pre-sentence report. So if you get bond over, and you out, just say you out on bond, you still in custody. You just out on bond. So all of this is just the beginning. None of this is really what I'm getting at is the 5 most valuable things you're going to need to get back into society, because all of this is just the beginning. You got to learn the 5 things. The 5 things going to come as you go through your transition through this incarceration, or maybe you might get released. But we dealing with, if you get incarcerated and you wind up in the trenches and you got to go to the state, because that's who you versing, it's going to be your name versus the state. So even when you sitting next to your cousin or your nephew or your mama or your daddy, that's a part of the state. They paying to prosecute your ass. So none of this is personal. This is all business. So you go up in there, you back for, you going to your trial now. You got bond over. The judge gonna want to know if you taking a jury trial, a bench trial, or the prosecutor might have a plea deal for you. Let's just say you in there for narcotics or something. It might be a little something where you could get you a little probation and get the hanky on out of these people's face. Because once you get trapped up in here and you not aware of all of the things that's to come, then it's finna get bad. So, or it could get good. It all depends. But boom, we gonna go with you convicted now. all what you was trying to do, the arguments, the witnesses, the police that arrested you, the complainant that said you did this or did that, and they eyewitnesses done been on the stand, everybody done been cross-examined, and it's closing arguments, and your lawyers say they say, and the prosecutor, the state says their say, and they leave it on the hands of the jury for deliberation, right? So the jury go in, whop, they come back out guilty or whatever. We do whatever. You just guilty now. This all gangsterism. Your ass guilty. This the flip side of popping bottles, breaking bricks, popping pistols, having adultery, sex, all of this. It's repercussion time. It's time for you to stand up. Now, you might have not told. So you going in there to do whatever you got to do. Some people tell. They don't want to do nothing, but they still wind up having to go do time anyway. But, it's all type of phases of an individual when they put up under the pressure of consequences. It's time to step up and be responsible. Most people don't want to do all that. Anyway, you go serve your time, however much time it was. Within 90 days of whatever your minimum was, your minimum and your max, that's what you're going to have, a minimum and a max in the state of Michigan. Your minimum is the least you can get. The max is the most you can get. But people have that kind of like backwards, because the minimum is the least of what you could get. But the judge still can enhance that minimum to put you in the middle range of your sentencing guidelines. Or you being found guilty and you got prior convictions and other stuff that's, probably still like other charges, right? You might have some other charges that still, no, you don't even got that. You just convicted, but you had prior cases with other convictions or whatever. So the judge can use all those against you. Like I said, you go to your pre-sentence investigating report. They going to come back with your PRVs and your OVs. All this I'll break down to you as you stick around, because you're going to ultimately need to learn the 5 things if your ass want to be a gangster or you think you a gangster. But really, you should know these things. But, gangsters don't really got no filter. So you convicted. You went and done however many years. Within that minimum time, it could have been 20, it could have been 10, it could have been 15, it could have been 30. Like Big Meech, he had to do this too. See the parole board, right? Now, seeing the parole board, you only there for consideration. You're not there to get a parole. You there because they considering to release you back into society, but they want to know what you learned since you've been absent from society. How your behavior been? What have you done while you been in here? What type of classes you done took? Is you done cognitive thinking or re-entry or assault of offenders or the list goes on with classes. Did you get any trades? Did you learn? Did you get your GED? Were you having numerous amount of insolent tickets or insolent tickets? Insolent tickets is cussing out the police. Fighting tickets, that's tickets too. All those things you can get. Tickets, major tickets, minor tickets. Minor tickets is like infractions. They like traffic tickets. It's like, oh, your bed wasn't made. Well, here's a minor ticket. But the counselor can be like, yeah, well, it's so minor, I'm going to give you 15 days top lock. Or LOP. That's loss of privileges. Loss of privileges. Top lock. It's TP. You got top lock. So the parole board is ready to see you. This is where everything gets gangster. most people don't know nothing about this. They never been to this extreme of gangsterism. And this not even gangsterism. This is more like of a transition of your thought process, what's in your heart, what's in your spirit, and what you want to push out into the energy that is finna hopefully accept you back, because you done something to forfeit that and wound up a part of the judicial system, right? So now the parole board is coming to see you, to interview you, to have a conversation with you on how your conduct being. They want to know from your unit reps, your unit your unit officers, like how do this person be in the unit? So you'll get like, I won't say like reference, but these are the immediate people that been supervising you. So they gonna have their insight on the fate of your decision, as far as it comes to paroling you or not. So you get an opportunity to have a representative. A representative is someone that's gonna be there as to say, well, I'm here to represent whoever it is on being released back into society. Some people may have their mothers, some people have their fathers, some people have their sisters or their brothers, or a pastor. Some people have places where they plan to parole to, like a shelter, and that shelter got like a counselor or spokesman that person in prison been corresponding with, to say, hey, when I go to the parole board, could you come up to the parole board meeting so you could be my representative, so we could discuss me paroling to your location, whether it's a shelter, or basically that's what it'd be, like a shelter or a Harbor Light or something to that effect. Now, you in here. Rule number 1, this the first thing you better do. You better take responsibility for everything that's on that parole person's paper, because that's what they judging you off of. The black and white, that's the white paper, and the black ink that's telling them who you are. They don't know you as an individual standing in front of them, a physical person that can articulate themselves to say, hey, well, this is not who I am. I made a mistake. I take full responsibility for that mistake. It's technically not a mistake. I done it. Now, next thing is you can't minimize nothing. You can't try to make what you done this small. Or you can't say, the reason I done that is because of this. Or I was only angered, so this is why I reacted that way. Or they didn't listen to me, so I had to make them. Whatever the case may be. No. You have to take full responsibility. Can't minimize nothing. So in a conversation with the parole board, it's not really an argument. It's a debate. In the debate, it's only what's factual. You can't go in there with an emotion, because that emotion might be the trigger that got you in there in the first place. So once you get past those two things, if you able to get past those two things, now you have to show remorse for whatever you done. You have to be able to be empathetic for what you done to somebody and to the people that love you, and to the number one person, yourself, because you ultimately messed up. So you gotta have empathy, but your most empathy gotta be towards the people that You either violated, victimized, assaulted, even murdered. Still got to have empathy, and you got to be remorseful. Ain't no sitting around trying to act like the person deserved whatever it was. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Take full ownership, take full accountability for it, and that's the way you're going to be able to stay in the conversation, because nobody's going to know this conversation more so than that parole agent, you, and if you happen to have a representative, because you could be in there by yourself. You could be in there straight by yourself, fumbling, looking nervous because you ain't winning. You don't have the 5 things. You haven't really been in there trying to learn the 5 things. So now that you all the way to taking accountability, because that's ultimately your next step. You taking ownership of everything. Once you taking ownership of everything, that's the 4th thing, your ownership, and your taking it in this hole and being held accountable for it. You're not dodging it. You're not trying to flick nothing away. You're not trying to say, oh no, it didn't happen that way, because they only going off the paper. Now, you might be able to explain it in a different fashion, but they still going off the paper. All that diverting from the paper, that ain't gonna work. So, ladies, if you in this type of situation, they don't want to hear back and forth. You will not be able to argue your point. You will not be able to cry. You will not be able to have a tantrum. And you most definitely will not be entitled to just sit there and assume that they gonna grant you a parole. That's for a male and for a female. And lastly, you better have a plan. You better have a goal on what you want to do, how you want to do it, when you planning on doing it, short term, mid-term, long-term goal. Go in there. If this just in life though, but this is one of the most serious conversations you'll ever have if you're trying to be a gangster. Because if you get caught up in the spider web, you ain't gonna get out of this unless you learn these 5 things. So you better have been writing somewhere so you could get you some job applications. If you don't have shelter, be writing somewhere where you could get shelter, right? If you don't have transportation, that might be the last thing you get. Clothing, you might also have to go to a secondhand store for all your clothing because you need shelter, right? Food, you got to be able to feed yourself. So 9 times out of 10, you might wind up in some type of shelter to get yourself established. I had my parole agent. I ain't got to go through none of that. My parole agent just blessed me with an opportunity to go get a trade. So I wind up with a trade and removing asbestos. But have you a set plan? Have you something that you want to do? Have something that you feel comfortable in, that you feel, even with my job, I can still utilize this experience, my transformation, being grateful to be out, have your faculties, be able to correspond or be able to conversate, laugh, all that, and with people, because at one time you was just around criminals, you was around criminals, and it ain't all the same. So you must, number 1, take responsibility. Number 2, no minimizing. Number 3, show some remorse. Number 4, take accountability, ownership. Number 5, my dog, have you some plan. Stick to it. Mean it. We'll be back with some more. You want to keep it gangster, or you want to be a gangster, because, hey, when you in those fields, A lot comes along with that. And you got to have some mental capacity, more so than emotional. Because when you get in there, your emotional self, if you have that, you really might be in a world of trouble. And to all my comrades that has weathered the storm and been there, done that, deuces, feel free. Holla at your boy Antonio. I'll highlight your story. We can let some of these kids know, hey, it's cool to have that bag, but that bag comes with a serious consequence. And the ultimate consequence is your life. This just about 5 little things that's already should be a part of your life. Unfortunately, they could be a part of your life, but you used them in the wrong way because you was like not knowing. And ignorance of the law is not an excuse. You're still getting prosecuted. And on that note, more with your boy, Antonio C. Nelson. We'll be back with some more. So you want to be gangster, the after party to the real party. Because, hey, you could break the bricks down. You could pop the pistols. You could pimp the girls. But at some point, you're going to have to go in the whale. You're going to get swallowed up by the belly of the beast. You're going to have to go deep inside that beast before it regurgitates you or it poop you out. Either way it go, you're going to have to learn self before you can get close to either part, the mouth or the anus of the whale. And on that, deuces, like, comment, subscribe. Mo, Coney Island Chronicles, baby.